This is CBS News Chicago.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dana Kozlov.
And I'm Adriana Sinclair. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. The trial is now wrapping up for a landlord accused of killing a 6-year-old boy. What's next after a week of testimony?
And organizers call it an economic blackout. The stores they say you should not shop at today, and why.
Plus, we'll get a taste of spring today, how long the climbing temperatures will last as we hit the weekend. But let's begin with your nonstop news as closing arguments are expected in just a bit in an alleged hate crime and murder trial in Plainfield.
Landlord Joseph Chuba is accused of stabbing a 6-year-old boy to death and injuring his mother because they are Muslim. Darius Johnson live at the Will County Courthouse right now, where both the prosecution and defense rested their case. Good morning, Darius.
Good morning, ladies. Yes, they rested their case after calling several witnesses to the stand throughout the trial this week, including the mother of that 6-year-old boy who was also injured in the attack. Chuba waived his right to testify during the trial. Take a look. This is what happened this week in court. Prosecutors say on October 14, 2023, Joseph Chuba brutally attacked his tenant, 6-year-old Wadia Al-Fayumi, and his mother, Hanan Shaheen. He referred to the Israel-Hamas war just days earlier as his motive. Shaheen, who rented 2 rooms from Chuba, testified that Chuba confronted her as she was preparing her son for a bath, demanding she leave. Chuba said, quote, "I told you, you people were killing Jewish babies," before allegedly stabbing her multiple times. As she ran to the bathroom to call 911, he then allegedly turned the knife on Wadia, whose screams were heard on that 911 call. Prosecutors described a gruesome scene. One recalled not being able to count the number of stab wounds on Wadia because there was so much blood. Jurors saw graphic images of his injuries before watching a video of Chuba in police custody, where he claimed he feared for his life and had begged Shaheen to move out after learning she was Muslim. Chuba's ex-wife testified that he became paranoid in the days leading up to the attack, believing Shaheen's friends could be a threat despite her never having any visitors. Hours before the stabbing, she last saw him sitting quietly at the kitchen table working on a puzzle. Now, throughout the trial this week, the defense told jurors to look out for inconsistencies in testimonies. Now the jury must decide Chuba's fate. Back out here live this morning, that 73-year-old faces charges of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and 2 counts of a hate crime. If convicted, he faces life in prison. Now, we are expecting closing arguments this morning, and there could be a verdict by the end of the day. We will be here in the courtroom, and we will let you all know what happens. We're live at the Will County Courthouse this morning. I'm Darius Johnson, CBS News Chicago.
All right, Darius, thank you for those updates there from the courthouse. And today there will be a candlelight vigil for the mother and 3 children killed in Lake Station, Indiana last week. And just a tragic story there. Police found the mother, Brianna Payne, and her 3 daughters, Elena, Ava, and Aurora, all with gunshot wounds at a mobile home park a week ago. The girl's father, police say, was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. At 5:30 tonight, the community coming together in support of the Payne family for a vigil at Bailey Elementary School.
Right now, multiple organizations are calling on you to avoid some big box retailers who've made decisions to roll back diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The economic blackout movement is encouraging people to avoid corporate spending, buying at chain stores, grocery stores, and even some online retailers. Now, this includes companies like Target, Walmart, and Amazon. Many companies cut their DEI programs, even though they didn't legally have to, after an executive order from the Trump administration. Advocates want them to feel the pinch of getting rid of those programs. Now, you're encouraged to instead invest in small and diverse businesses today. The boycott lasts a full 24 hours, so all of today. There could be more boycotts, though, throughout the month of March. And a new CBS News poll shows there's growing concern over inflation. 77% of those surveyed said their incomes are not keeping up with the pace of inflation. Around 60% of Americans say the economy is bad right now. That's up 2% from this time last year. And about half of those surveyed said the economy is getting worse.
DuPage County Sheriff James Mendrick will run for Illinois governor, and he's actually the first candidate to throw his hat in the ring for 2026. Mendrick's a Republican and has been a vocal critic of the Illinois bail reform law known as the Safety Act. Current Governor Democrat J.B. Pritzker has not confirmed if he will run for re-election. Now, Cicero's water director says beware, because these tags are popping up front doors. They claim to be from water control and tell people to call the number on the flyer, but that number is actually linking people to a company in California. We're told the tags are a scam to convince people to buy expensive and unnecessary water filtration systems. Well, parents rallied but failed to convince the Chicago School Board to vote to keep all 7 Acero charter schools open for the next school year. So CPS will close 2 of the schools, they say, for financial reasons. They are Cruz K-12 in Westridge and Octavio Paz Elementary in Little Village. 9:05 right now. We are taking a live look outside and turning to meteorologist Mary Kay Kleiss as we got sunshine and just temperatures that just keep getting better and better today.
Ooh, soaring temperatures for your Friday, Audrina. Good morning. But we do have a wind advisory up today because those winds could gust 45 miles per hour. Even some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts are certainly possible. Right now, we have winds to 43 in Waukegan, winds to 39 at Midway, so it is very windy. And we will just see these winds continuing to increase. But that's what's going to pull the mild air into the picture for us. Our forecast high is 58, 72 in St. Louis. We'll see 69 in Kansas City today. All of that mild air is short-lived, though. Front number 1 coming through this afternoon. Front number 2 coming through tonight, and that brings chilly changes for the upcoming weekend. So we're flirting with record highs today because areas south of I-80 will probably cross that 60-degree mark. But then on the weekend, it's colder, 32, but it'll feel colder because of those northwest winds. And then on Sunday, a high of 39. And yeah, it's cold, but at least it's a dry weekend, Audrina and Dana. Next week, we get wet. I'll show you that coming up.
All right, Mary Kay, thank you. We'll see you soon for those details. As we keep an eye on your world this morning, today President Donald Trump will sit down with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy.
They are set to discuss the 3-year-long war between Russia and Ukraine. Now, he's expected to sign a financial deal to share Ukraine's mineral wealth with the U.S. Zelenskyy is the latest world leader to visit the White House. Yesterday, the British Prime Minister was at the White House, where he urged Trump not to reward Russia in any deal.
It can't be peace that rewards the aggressor or that gives encouragement to regimes like Iran. We agree history must be on the side of the peacemaker, not the invader.
President Trump was asked if he regrets calling Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy a dictator last week, which made headlines around the world. Trump claims he doesn't remember doing so.
In the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, terminated hundreds at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, including weather forecasters. But there is some relief for some of the recently terminated probationary employees. A federal judge ruled those mass firings likely illegal, ordering a partial pause that only covers a handful of agencies, including the Department of Defense.
In a memo, the Pentagon said the U.S. will begin removing transgender troops from the military within 30 days unless they obtain a waiver on a case-by-case basis. Now, the memo became public as part of a court filing in a case challenging President Donald Trump's executive order aimed at barring military service by transgender personnel.
Pope Francis is now resting after another peaceful night. The 88-year-old has been hospitalized for the past 2 weeks, battling double pneumonia. Francis has suffered several bouts of illness over the past 2 years as well. Now, he is prone to lung infections because he developed pleurisy as a young adult and had part of one lung removed.
Well, first-time Oscars host Conan O'Brien rolled out the red carpet for Hollywood's biggest night. This Sunday, the 97th Academy Awards will recognize excellence in film. Wicked, Anora, Amelia Perez, and Conclave are just some of the films up to win Oscars. Outside of the awards, show producers say look for Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, and others to perform celebrating the filmmaking community.
Well, one thing a lot of us need is a little more sleep.
What?
I know. I know. Not us. A new study on the effects of lack of shut-eye and how that's having an effect on your health.
But first, we are looking at an impact of an economic blackout, what it could do, who it could affect, plus where the groups behind it are encouraging you to shop instead.
And ahead at 9:30, Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa may have a new job. The major city department mayor Brandon Johnson just tapped him to take over.
Well, you may have heard the call for an economic blackout. We just talked about it a little while ago. It is a movement today that spread on social media since an initial post from a man from Queens, New York.
For our entire lives, they have told us we have no choice, that this is just how things are, that we have to accept these insane prices, the corporate greed, the billionaire tax breaks, all while we struggle just to get by. February 28th, the 24-hour economic blackout. No Amazon, no Walmart, no fast food, no gas, not a single unnecessary dollar spent.
Now, John Schwartz, who started his grassroots organization called the People's Union, says today's consumer protest is not really about politics, but about fairness, economic justice, and real systemic change. Now, the goal is for people to avoid making any purchases from major retailers, to send a message to big corporations. Many people on social media are also calling for a targeted boycott of retailers that have ended their DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Joining us now to dig into this a little more are Janice Gassimasare, a workplace equity consultant, and Eldon Morris, a professor of sociology at Northwestern University and an expert on social protests. Thanks so much, both of you, for being with me this morning.
Sure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I think I want to start, maybe I'll start with you, Janice. This is designed to be a one-day protest. Can a one-day, 24-hour boycott be effective in the long run?
I would just say a big no. I don't think so at all. I think if we wanted to make a long-term impact, a boycott needs to be over the course of months and years. I think we have a lot of great examples of effective boycotts, and they've lasted years or decades. So I don't really think one day boycott is going to do anything.
We are looking at, video, you guys might not be able to see it, of some of the big box retailers that folks want people to boycott today, Target among them. Eldon, what about you? Do you feel that this could be effective, or do you agree that it would have to be a prolonged economic boycott?
I think the one-day boycott is very important because it will reveal the degree to which people are dissatisfied and who are ready to resist. We must remember that the famous Montgomery bus boycott of 1955 was planned for one day. And then when Dr. King and Rosa Parks and others woke up early that morning, they looked out their windows and no Black people were riding the bus. And it revealed to them that a boycott could be effective, and that boycott lasted for 381 days. And so I think this boycott is very important. It's one day because it will give us a barometer on what is possible. I do agree, however, that a one-day boycott will not solve the problem. It is going to take a sustained effort in a long-term boycott, as well as other measures to try to bring about change.
I appreciate both of your perspectives here. Janice, I want to ask you, you wrote an article diving into the history of boycotts that have been successful, one in particular that the professor just talked about. What are some other examples, if you have them at hand, of boycotts leading to change, and why do you think they worked? Maybe pick one other, because we can't talk about all of them.
Yeah, I would say definitely the anti-apartheid boycotts, and those lasted for several decades. And so, like the professor mentioned, the Montgomery bus boycott is a great example, but boycotts that are effective have to last a certain amount of time. And so again, a one day is not really going to be effective. Also, I don't think this particular boycott has a pressure point. We don't know what are the specific demands.
Yeah.
I admire the individuals who are supporting the boycott today. I'm supporting the boycott, but what are the demands? What are we asking for? So there is a lack of clarity around that.
Oh, that's a very good point. And then real quick, Professor Morris, I know these interviews go so fast. What next? What happens? What has to happen next?
Well, I think there will be discussions about how to continue the boycott, how to be more strategic, how to generate the demands which are necessary. But as I said from the beginning, I think that this is a start, and it will reveal a lot of important information about where we stand at this point in time.
Okay, I really appreciate it. This is a conversation that could go on for another hour for sure. But in the meantime, Janice Gassam-Asare and Professor Alden Morris, thanks so much for being with me this morning. And we will see what, if anything, comes from today's economic blackout. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now let's get a check of our Friday weather with Mary Kay.
And it's a windy one for us, Dana, but that's going to push temperatures to that 60-degree mark, especially south of I-80. But there's a cold front later today taking us to the 30s over the weekend, and we get super wet next week. It will be wet, especially as we get into Tuesday and into Wednesday. But that really all starts on Monday with scattered showers moving in. By Tuesday, it's a wall of rain, and then the cold air mixing in with the system Wednesday could actually change it to a quick wintry mix before it moves out of town. So let's make the most of this day. We're already at 47. We have southwest winds that continue to increase. These are the wind gusts. They could be almost 50 miles per hour up near the Wisconsin line. Here comes the cold front this afternoon. It pushes through. Once it's through later this evening, it shifts the winds and pulls in colder air out of the northwest, so temperatures start falling fast. So we will peak our daytime high between lunchtime and 3 o'clock. After that, we really cool down. So forecast highs go from the low 60s to the south to the mid 50s at the lakefront. As I mentioned, it's a chilly weekend ahead, nice and bright, and we get wet next week.
All right, Mary Kay, thank you.
On the Health Watch, it's something we've told you time and time again.
Yeah, if you're not getting enough sleep, it's bad for your health, our health, collectively. Doctors now say that nearly 2/3 of Americans are not sleeping enough. And a study published in JAMA showed that people getting either less than 7 hours of sleep a night or more than 9 hours had as much as a 29% increased chance of death due to various health issues. Very difficult to hear that for a lot of people who are struggling with sleep. The risk is even higher among low-income Americans.
And here's another reason to get off the couch and exercise, why don't you? The American Academy of Neurology found that people who get moderate to vigorous physical activity are at a lower risk for dementia, stroke, anxiety, depression, and sleep disorders. The study also found the more time people spent sitting, the more likely they develop those health issues.
Well, in better news, it's a dash into the frigid waters of Lake Michigan, and it's all for a good cause.
We are talking with 2 polar plunge participants about why it's so important to them to jump on in.
Dana and Audrina, good morning to you from what is a very happy place. This is Sean Michelle's in Bronzeville, right on 47th Street. They make homemade ice cream, but they also make other homemade desserts as well, including some beautiful cakes. What Imani is doing right now is just putting the cherry on top, so to speak, the whipped cream on top of some sundaes that they have, combining both the homemade ice cream with the homemade cakes and pound cakes. I mean, brownies, they've got it all here. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we are going to be introducing you to Yahya Muhammad, who's the owner here. And I tell you that you will not want to miss that because he's got a great personality and will speak in poetry about all of these desserts. We'll see you right after the break.
Welcome back. So this weekend, hundreds of people will run right into the cold waters of Lake Michigan, and it's for the polar plunge.
And the event benefits Special Olympics Illinois and is presented by Special Children's Charities. And joining us now is one of the teams participating, Colleen Sullivan-Schaefer, and her 9-year-old daughter, Eileen. Good morning to you both.
Hi.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
So you've been supporting Special Children's Charities since 2019 with your team, Eileen In. So tell us about your team and why this is so important to you.
Yeah, no, we have almost 170 plungers this year, and we wanted to do something to support Eileen and awesome kids and adults like her, and it's just been one of the joys of our life to be able to participate in this every year and bring our community together.
Well, we can tell you put some heart into it because Eileen In is on track to raise more than $500,000 over the years that you guys have been participating. How in the world did you do that? And how does it feel to have so much success in just your fundraising?
Oh, we actually hit the mark yesterday, and we are so proud and humbled. And I think the way we made it happen was just following the spirit of the Special Olympics, just being inclusive, and everybody was welcome to be part of our team and be part of the magic. And it's just grown and grown over the years, and it's just what's gotten us here today, is just being wildly inclusive.
And obviously very persistent in getting those donations. I'm curious, how many people gave over all these years to reach $500,000 mark? Was it like hundreds of people, thousands of people?
I think it's in the thousands. That's something we're really proud of. Is we've had obviously a ton of generous donors, but it really is made up of small amounts. So nice. The impact has been great, and that's what we're really proud of. It's just a lot of people working really hard and coming together, and the ripple effects that just reach far and wide. We're so proud.
It is. It's something to be really proud of. By the way, I really want to quickly point out I love Eileen's green glasses matching her green shirt. That's so cool. I love it. And I love your talk about inclusivity, right? You know, it's to me it's something that is so important. But what is I know there's so much community support too. What's your favorite part of the Polar Plunge? You know, overall.
It is. It's like almost a holy day. It's just so joyous, and it's just a funny, wild. It requires no training. It just requires a brave spirit, and I just love that all these people come together to do something silly and fun, and you just feel like it's one. At the end of the day, you're like you love everybody. It's a big love fest.
Oh, absolutely. Have fun, enjoy. Thank you for coming on the show as well, Colleen Sullivan-Schaefers and Eileen. Thank you so much, and kudos to all the success.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. The Polar Plunge is this Sunday again at North Avenue Beach. Online registration will be open until 3 tomorrow, with walk-ups available until the day of the event, starting at 8 in the morning. And next at 9:30, organizers call it an economic blackout, as we've been talking about.
Yeah, Dana did that live interview, and the stores they say you should not shop at today, and why. We'll have more details on that.
And Chicago Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa may have a new job. The major city department, Mayor Brandon Johnson, just tapped him to take over.
And Dinkel's Bakery may not be firing up its ovens for Punchki Day anymore, but it appears its iconic sign may live on.
This is CBS News Chicago.
Good morning, and so great to have you here with us on this Friday. I'm Audrina Sinclair.
And I'm Dana Kozlov. It is 9:30. Thanks so much for staying with us. It is the end of the line for a longtime CTA worker, so to speak. How neighbors on the Brown Line at the Armitage Station are celebrating her retirement.
Yeah, she's got titles like Queen and Mayor of that line. Love it. Plus, we'll get a taste of spring today. Wow, how long the climbing temperatures will last as we hit the weekend in just a couple of hours. Good morning, Mary Kay. How long is this warmth going to stick around for us?
For your Friday, and that's it, because then the cold front is coming later today, so make the most of it this afternoon. 55 is the forecast high in the Loop, but we could see 60s south of I-80, so unseasonably mild weather coming in our direction. 72 is the forecast high in St. Louis, 69 Kansas City. Strong southwest winds will carry us there. That's all ahead of the first front, which is coming through by this evening. A secondary push of cold air, though, is really going to chill us down for the weekend. So this is short-lived, but it's right on your Friday. 58 degrees for us. A wind advisory is up all day. Those winds could gust 45, maybe 50 miles per hour. Front comes through, and over the weekend, it won't feel like 32. You have to factor in the winds. So we have a chilly Saturday, a chilly Sunday too, but at least it's dry because we get super wet next week, and I'll time that out in your first alert forecast. Audrina, Dana.
All right, Mary Kay, thank you. Well, today, a grassroots economic blackout starting right here in Chicago. Dana just did an interview with some experts about this, as several groups have come forward saying they want Americans not to spend any money today in big box retailers as a form of protest.
And of course, one of the big questions today is, can enough consumers hold off on shopping for 24 hours to actually make an impact? Let's go to our Marissa Perlman now, who is live in the West Loop, trying to get some of those answers, at least from people who might be out and about today. Good morning, Marissa.
Good morning. Good to be with both of you. Yeah, well, at this hour, the Target here in the West Loop neighborhood still full of customers, even though Target is really one of the main, targets of this economic blackout. We've been talking about this grassroots organization. Again, they're called People's Union USA, and they're really the ones who are behind this initiative, asking you not to spend any money as an act of economic resistance to protest the influence of billionaires, big corporations, and both political parties on the lives of Americans. And here's how it would work. The People's Union calls the 24 hours of spending abstinence an economic blackout. You'll see that circulating on social media today. The group says it also plans to promote week-long consumer boycotts of other companies like Walmart and Amazon. They want these big retailers who have all cut diversity, equity, and inclusion programs to feel the pinch. And many, as we've mentioned, have questioned if a one-day boycott will have any impact in the long term. But we spoke with some who believe voting with your wallet is the best way to take a stand.
All have a responsibility to make choices that stand for our values. And whether it has a small difference or a big difference, every single one of us has a responsibility to take actions that meet our values.
Now here at home, Rainbow Push, a civil rights group here in Chicago, is vowing to participate in this economic blackout. They say they're vowing no corporate spending, no gas purchases, no online retail, and even no spending at grocery store chains today. So we'll see how this shakes out as we head into the rest of the afternoon. For now, we're live in the West Loop. I'm Marissa Perlman, CBS News Chicago.
It is windy out there today, too, Marissa. Thank you so much. Well, right now, Mayor Brandon Johnson has appointed a new Chicago Park District CEO. Johnson named Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa to the top Park District job. Ramirez Rosa was elected 3 times to serve the 35th Ward community, but back in 2023, he came under fire for harassing and allegedly manhandling fellow Alderwoman Emma Mitz outside City Council chambers to try and prevent her from voting on an issue. Alderman Ramirez Rosa later apologized to Mitz, but the controversy resulted in his resignation as the mayor's floor leader and chair of the council's zoning committee. The Chicago Park District Board still needs to approve his appointment at their meeting at noon today. The previous head of the Park District, Rosa Escareno, resigned just a couple of days ago, Wednesday. She did not give a reason for her departure. Now, this follows 3 other top Chicago officials stepping down in the last month.
Today, elected officials and advocates will meet in Chicago to speak about possible Medicaid cuts. Now, earlier this week, we heard from Governor J.B. Pritzker speaking about how this could actually impact the 3.4 million people in Illinois who are currently covered.
If Donald Trump and the Republican Congress eliminate the Medicaid expansion, we will have people who get sick and die because they don't have coverage.
The governor will be at this morning's press conference, which comes after House Republicans passed a budget resolution on Tuesday targeting Medicaid. His office says this resolution would cost each congressional district about $2 billion to give tax cuts to the rich and then increase the federal deficit by $2.8 trillion.
Well, earlier this week, we told you about an incident where a Block Club Chicago reporter says she was kicked out of a public meeting by a staffer for 25th Ward Alderman Byron Cicho Lopez, while other reporters were allowed to stay. Now, this comes amid national concerns about limiting freedom of the press. We had Francia Garcia Hernandez in studio with us earlier. The alderman staffers claim she was asked to leave because she violated a no recording rule, but Garcia Hernandez says that is not true.
It was never announced that it was not allowed to take pictures or record the meeting. If that was a rule that had been announced at the beginning of the meeting, before the meeting, or after the meeting, even when I asked for an explanation, I would understand that. That was never mentioned to me until after we published the story and I saw the alderman's response.
The alderman's office actually passed out flyers to the public about that meeting. Now, Cicho Lopez is demanding a retraction in the statement that Francia was referring to. He also says this report alleges the 25th Ward suppresses free speech, a dangerous and false allegation for which she had to distort the truth to allege. We strongly condemn these actions taken by the editors and writers and request they make full corrections. But Francia and Block Club editors stand by their assertions. We have asked the alderman to come on to our show next week. We are waiting to confirm.
Northside Restaurant Week continues today, and it runs through March 9th. And there's lots of eateries taking part in several neighborhoods spanning from Albany Park, Edgewater, Irving Park, Lincoln Square, North Center, North Park, Ravenswood, Rogers Park, and Uptown. Lots of opportunities, and they're offering exclusive fixed-priced menus that highlights each restaurant's cuisine and their specialties. You can find a full list of restaurants at northsiderestaurantweek.org. And Jackie was actually jump-starting us earlier this week, giving us a preview of some of those restaurants. Well, the iconic Dinkle's Bakery sign and building will live on, even though the legendary maker of strudels and punchkis isn't around anymore. Black Club Chicago says the bakery's facade and sign will be preserved in an updated proposal for a 6-story residential and retail development located at 3327 North Lincoln. That's in Lakeview. Dinkle's Bakery closed back in 2022 after 100 years in business. Well, today neighbors are celebrating a CTA worker who spent decades working at the Armitage Brown Line Station.
And it's all to wish Janet Martin a happy retirement. Martin is affectionately known as the mayor of Armitage Brown Line Station and the queen of Armitage Avenue. The president of the Sheffield Neighborhood Association spoke to Block Club Chicago, saying Martin is always in her booth or even outside greeting people, giving out dog treats very early in the morning. They say she's been at that stop for 25 years. And with the CTA for 32. The fun starts today at 2 at the Brown Line Plaza at Armitage. All are welcome.
Well, you scream, I scream, we want that ice cream. Jumpstart takes us to Sean Michelle's on the South Side. That's next.
You're not going to want to miss it. And 2 Chicago bookstores focus on supporting authors of color. We are talking to the owners about the need for community support of Black-owned businesses years after they saw a surge in support during racial justice movements of 2020.
Welcome back. Well, the Black Lives Matter movement hit a peak in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd at the hands of a Minneapolis police officer. There were calls and efforts to support and uplift Black-owned businesses, but since then, we've seen that momentum slow down. A recent Sun-Times article caught our attention because it took a deep dive into the shift we've seen between then and now and how it specifically is impacting Black-owned bookstores. So we wanted to learn more and continue that conversation. So we invited 2 Chicago bookstore owners here. We have Danny Moore. She owns Semicolon in Westtown. Yep. And then we also have Jarima, is it Gorham?
Yep.
All right, and you own Burst Into Books in Roseland.
Yes,
Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you joining us. Let's first quickly go back to 2020. We saw the unrest with these movements that we saw after George Floyd. What did you guys see as far as the support, and did people come in and say, I'm here because I want to support you because you're a Black-owned business?
I think the initial call to action was we need to support these communities that obviously haven't been disinvested in and haven't been considered. So yes, we as an org got a lot of calls, a lot of partnerships, and there was a lot of funding, right? That was specifically towards organizations that served in communities that were low income.
And that's super helpful when it's difficult as a small business to stay open, period, especially when you're dealing with big boxes. What did you see in 2020?
We had a lot of customers coming in saying that they wanted help. They wanted to know how to change. They wanted to know what we would recommend for their change. And it definitely put us in an excellent position as a bookseller because we knew exactly what books were needed.
All right. So then let's talk now about the shift. What's happened since then? What have you guys seen? Do you see that continued support, funding, and people coming in?
I think me and Danny talk about this all the time, that the same way that we built community in 2020 is still present today, right? And so booksellers, bookstores are so pivotal in communities. And so I think the shift hasn't changed as far as our mission and the work, but maybe the intentionality, right, of I'm going to get my books from this space. I'm going to support this space has changed.
Okay, and have you seen that decrease?
Yeah, look, we definitely have seen a decrease, right? Just because I think priorities shift, right? And then you're able to see who was truly just there because of the movement or because they actually saw the value in the space.
I heard some people say that supporting Black businesses became a trendy thing back then, and it may not be as trendy in all settings.
Yeah, I mean, we would have people come to the space and not even make their way in, but take a picture of the sign to post on their Instagram. So that's the thing about trends. They always turn turned the other way. And as Black booksellers, we knew that this was not a lasting moment because the real issue is in who actually reads books by Black and brown authors.
And speaking of that, I wanted to ask you guys, because you started Birth to the Books because you saw the need for more authors of color. You also have 80% of items in your store are from marginalized authors. So what's the importance of having these authors and these spaces in our communities in Chicago?
One, I believe, especially for the work we do, is for our next generation to see the possibilities, right? And understanding that this name has a face behind it and this face looks just like you, right? And then also being able to make the connection between the literary world and the community. And so I think that's been most important for me, is that the kids, the communities that we're in, see that we are represented in this industry. Even though we have a small percentage in it, it's so important that we make that amplified in the spaces that we have.
And they're giving me the wrap. Any final thoughts on that?
No, I absolutely agree with Jarima. I think people have to see themselves in spaces, and I think our spaces exist for the people who don't see themselves elsewhere. And it's imperative that we continue to exist.
Yeah, representation is so important. Thank you to both of you. I do want to mention Danny Moore from Semicolon Bookstore, and you're in Westtown. And then we've got Jarima Gore on Burst into Books in Roseland. If you want to support your local Black-owned bookstore, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, 9:45. We are turning to our first alert weather. I can't believe we're talking about 60 potentially here, Mary Kay.
I know. Such a treat on your Friday, Audrina. Yes, we are expecting 60s south of I-80. 58 is our official forecast, but it only lasts today. A cold front brings chilly changes to your weekend. We get super wet next week, but it's nice to hold off all that wet weather until about Monday, but especially Tuesday and Wednesday. That's the height of this whole event. So it takes shape Monday, bringing us rain showers. Tuesday, we see a much higher chance of rain as that wall of rain lifts northward, and then cold air mixes into the system. So on Wednesday, before it departs, it could change to a wintry mix and some chilly winds. So we will enjoy this super mild day. Right now, southwest winds are sustained at 23. We have moved to 47 already, but those winds could gust 45 to even 50 miles per hour. So a wind gust is possible with the wind advisory going all day today. Right now, we have winds to 43 in Waukegan, 33 mile per hour winds at Morris, and Midway 2 is a place that's going to be so windy today. Here comes the cold front. So we enjoy those 60-degree temperatures in spots before the front. It's only for a few hours because then the front comes through later this afternoon and shifts the wind. They become more northwesterly. That starts dragging in that colder air mass for the weekend. At least it's a dry weekend, but it's going to be cold. 32 for the high on Saturday. Factor in the wind. It'll feel like the 20s all day. 39 Sunday. Here comes that rainmaker. Develops during the day Monday, especially Tuesday and into Wednesday as well. So this is a super mild Friday. Just keep in mind that those winds could gust 45 to 50 miles per hour. So the wind advisory in place today. We enjoy this warm air before the cold front comes through, and then it starts chilling down after the sun goes down. Back to you.
All right, Mary Kay, thank you. Well, what a better way to celebrate a beautiful 60-degree day than with some ice cream.
We are jump-starting your day on the city's south side at the beloved staple Sean Michelle's. Jackie is in Bronzeville right now to tell us all about their wonderful, yummy offerings. Good morning, Jackie.
Dana and Audrina, I mean, take a look at this table. This is absolutely an embarrassment of riches when it comes to ice cream and cake and brownies and just all of the delicious desserts that you could possibly imagine. I'm here with Yaya, Nataki, and the whole crew here at Sean Michelle's that put all these together for us all morning long. So good morning to everybody. And Nataki, I'm going to start with good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Chicago. That is the energy that greets you when you walk in the door here on 47th Street in Bronzeville. Nataki, let's start with the science of ice cream. And you guys actually go into schools, into community centers, and teach folks about the science of ice cream to get them interested, right?
Absolutely. So as an educator, of course, I had to think, all right, you come in, you have these great desserts, but there's more to ice cream than just eating it. You need to learn how to make it. But not only do we teach you the science of ice cream, we also talk about entrepreneurship, because that's what this is. We need children to be motivated. We need them to be encouraged and to know that if we did it, they can do it too.
Yes.
You can reach us at www.seanmichells.com. You can come into the shop. You can get more information. We would love to come to your school, your community center, your church, your birthday party.
Yes.
Just let us know.
Oh,
we're there.
I love it. Nataki, high five for that. That is amazing. And sort of that early STEM education, which I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily think of food as a gateway into science, but it absolutely is. And I know that you also mentioned that, well, one, you've got a lot of promotions that we're going to get to in just a second, but you also mentioned that you work in a lot of life lessons, sort of ice cream or desserts as a metaphor for life.
Right, exactly. The process science, the process of cause and effect. So these same principles that Nataki talked about, you can apply these same lessons to your life, whatever your goal might be. And, just so that you can get the flavor that you want out of life, right?
Yes.
And I wanted to also mention you can come in and schedule to have a churn party here at Sean Michel's. We'll provide you with that wonderful, wonderful cooked custard and different things to put inside of it. And you can bring your churn or you can use ours and create your ice cream right here in Chicago for your own personal churn party. And for this special event tomorrow, we're going to have a day at Sean Michel's.
Ooh, okay.
You're going to get a chance to get that turned grandma's old-fashioned vanilla all day long for free. Ooh, a single scoop. Okay. Come right here to 47th Street in Wabash tomorrow. It's a free scoop of vanilla ice cream. And very lastly, every day we have what's called the $5 holler.
$5 holler.
Which is items on the menu under $6. Our single scoop of homemade ice cream, our single serve of peach cobbler, stump your feet peach cobbler, and of course, our banana pudding southern custard.
Yes.
With the wafers.
Oh, okay, all right. You guys just absolutely killed it this morning. And again, this spread is something like I have never seen before. And for somebody who has a sweet tooth like me, this is my absolute dream. Audrina, Dana, Sean Michel's, 47th Street, Bronzeville. Back to you.
Oh, they've been amazing all morning. Thank you guys so much. Oh my goodness. We were both like, wow, when we saw that spread. All right, Jackie, thank you.
I know.
The $5 holla. I like that one too. All right, well, on the Money Watch, speaking of dollars, the IRS has released its list of tax scams to watch out for this year. And topping their list this year are phishing scams where fraudsters pose as legitimate organizations in the tax and financial community. Another big concern this year that's continuing to grow involves incorrect tax information on social media. So the IRS is warning that this can mislead people into not only bogus tax avoidance strategy, but also resulting in identity theft in some situations. While many of these scams occur throughout the year, they really peak right now during filing season.
And coming up, a look at the stories we're following today, including who the mayor picked to lead the Chicago Park District.
And a big announcement from a cheeky little piggy, Peppa Pig. It's about to get a new brother or sister. The preschool program says Mummy Pig is pregnant with her third child. Peppa and our little brother George welcome the new little piggy in June. Our sister network Nickelodeon will air a special episode of Peppa Pig, the big announcement, on March 31st.
We have some breaking news we want to tell you about right now out of Washington, D.C., where President Donald Trump is expected to sign an executive order making English the official language of the United States. Now, the order will let government agencies decide if they want to offer documents and services in non-English languages. The White House said it's meant to promote unity. And here is a look at the stories we are keeping an eye on today.
Closing arguments are expected to start this morning in just a bit for the landlord charged in an alleged deadly hate crime attack in Will County. Prosecutors say Joseph Chuba attacked 6-year-old Wadia Al-Fayumi and his mother because they are Muslim, referencing the events of October 7th in Israel days before the attack.
A one-day blackout of large retailers and businesses is underway today. A grassroots organization called the People's Union USA wants shoppers to not spend for 24 hours, so companies that have cut back or eliminated diversity, equity, and inclusion programs will feel the impact of making less money today.
And Mayor Brandon Johnson appointing 35th Ward Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa as the Chicago Park District's new CEO. This after the previous head of the Park District resigned just days ago. The Park District Board still needs needs to approve the decision, though, and they're meeting at noon at the Park District Administrative Building near 48th and Western.
And we expect high winds today, but warm air, mid-50s north, low 60s south of I-80, but that's just today. I'm tracking 2 cold fronts, one due in later today. The second one really chilling us down for the upcoming weekend. Forecast highs will be around 32 on Saturday, and on Sunday, a high of 39. At least it's dry.
That's right. At least it's sunny, too. Mary Kay,
Yes.
thank you so much. And thank you for joining us here on the News at 9. Your local news continues right here on the stream.
We hope you have a great day, beautiful, sunny, warm day, and a great weekend. Take care. We'll see you Monday morning.